Dala! So this is a new series. This series is called Wisdom Letters, and this is a series where I'm basically going to take questions that you send me through Facebook or my social media and answer them in a video. And if you would like to send me questions specifically for this series, you can do it. All the information will be in the description box. And of course, to support this series, you can make donation via my PayPal. The information will also be in the description box. And you can give anything that you feel like giving, especially if my channel has helped you in any type of ways. That would be a great way to give back. It could be just a $5 if you want to, get me a coffee or something like that, or a tip of $1. Whatever you can afford to give, whatever you feel called to give, will be welcome. So now on to the questions. So in this video, I've done the French version already because it was a French subscriber, and I just decided that I will do one video with all of the questions for the English video. So this person first said he has 3 questions. The first one deal with hair, extensions, human hair, hair that is based hair that was taken from Indian temples, that were offered, that were part of a religious rituals that women gave to honor to the gods, and also hair that is synthetic, artificial, and the consequences of a woman's mixing her natural hair with hair from other people or with synthetic hair, and whether there is an energetical or a spiritual compatibility or issue. So for this first question, I think I answered it a little bit already in the video I've done on braids and weaves, which I will link somewhere there. But to say that it's like we don't have the same sensibility, I think that's very important. Somebody could be there smoking for 30 years and never get lung cancer, never even get any cancer for that matter. And somebody who doesn't smoke, who exercises, who eats right, can get cancer from secondhand just because, the neighbor down the street or the neighbor next door smokes. So I think it's very important to go back to this principle of know thyself. Know your own sensibility. Know if you're reluctant to be getting sick. Know where you can stand, and have that kind of perception that we are not the same. Something that can hurt you may not hurt me. Something that can hurt that person may hurt me. And you have to accept that, because I think there's this kind of blanket statement where we want to kind of harbor everybody, we want to kind of protect everybody, but we refuse to accept the fact that we are not all the same. If you even think about it, even twins who have the same kind of DNA, like we can figure out which DNA is whom is who. But when you talk to them, when you look at them, if you know them, you know they're different. They're not the same. So why would you expect that individuals who don't even share the same DNA will be the same, will have the same sensibility? And of course, if we get into studies and we get into science, we know that there are probabilities, and we know that there are a number of people who have similar sensitivities. Okay? But the matter is, you don't need to know what everybody's sensitivity is, you just need to know yours. And this comes into that. Some people may wear, all kind of hair from a diseased person, hair from somebody who thrown it there, hair from a horse, hair from wherever it's coming from, synthetic hair, and be just fine. Be really energetically grounded so that those kind of hair and the energy do not interfere with them, or we do not interfere with her. And I know this is something that's really difficult to understand, because most hot tapers out there and most people who become spiritual, especially black people, want to say, oh, I have to be natural, I have to stop doing this, I have to stop. You stop wearing weaves, and you stop wearing any form of like synthetic or any artificial things because you want to. Stop it because you want to. Stop it because you get a benefit out of that. Stop it because you feel a certain type of way. Stop it because you're called to do that within. Not from outside, because it is something within you that's calling you to do that. And if you're not called to do that, you have the willpower to do as you please. That's why you have the will. That's why you have choices. That's why we all come here with the choices. Whether it is in African spirituality, in angels talking, or however you want to perceive it, when an angel comes and tells you whatever thing, the angel cannot impose itself to you. whatever information you get, you have the choice to follow or not to follow. Same thing, when your ancestors show you things, you have the choice to follow or not to follow. When your intuition is telling you to get out of here, you can still decide to stay. And that's where the power resides within you. So if you're not called to make this drastic change in your life and people keep talking to you here, then don't do it. Because you should not be doing that for them. You should be doing that when the time is right for yourself, because you find something in it. If you don't find something in it, that means it may not be for you, it may not be your path. And that's why I'm like, I know I'm probably going to get some disagreeable comments from this, but I speak my truth. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear or what everybody is repeating around. My truth is that we are all unique. This is why we all came here. This is why you have your own perspective and your own experience. The way you love is not going to be the way I love. We can use the same words. We can touch the same things. But your feeling will be different because they come from you. The love that you give to someone else is unique. And I think that's something that needs to be understood and something that needs to be elevated. To get back to the hair issue, it's like, now you have people who are not sensitive at all, people who can go out in a crowd and don't pick up any kind of things and be just fine, people who can wear, weave with human hair from other people and be completely fine. However, you have people who are highly sensitive, who are highly influenceable, and there's a spectrum of that. One example could be somebody watching TV and having this hypnotist that are saying, oh, I can hypnotize you from TV. You're feeling sleepy. One person will say, well, this is completely stupid. And the person next to this person will be just sleeping because they don't have the same sensitivity. Okay? Now, you can be somebody who is very sensitive, who's very influenceable, and then you wear one of those weaves, the natural hair from someone else, and then you get all that energy imprinted into you. You start having mood swings, you start behaving more like this person, you start taking on the burden of that person. And I think that's important to know yourself. That's important to know your own sensitivity, which only comes when you're doing work on yourself, which only comes when you have knowledge of self. You may not necessarily know. You may, if you are somebody who's wearing weave a lot, you may already know because you've already gone through that process. And in that process, you may ask people around you, maybe your partner, your friends, your family members, to ask them how you are when you're wearing natural hair weave human hair. Because you may feel like you're fine and everything is perfect, but other people may notice that whenever you put this particular type of hair or this yaki hair or whatever type of hair, you act different. You may be more irritable, you may be more snappy, things of that nature. So it's important for you to take that into consideration, to make your own internal assessment and to ask around, even to journal around incidents and stuff like that when you have actually weave and you're using that. And that will help you assess whether you have high sensitivity or if you're not that sensitive at all. But it's important to know. It's also important to pay attention where the hair comes from. We all seen those articles going around of people who purchase hair, human hair, and it turned out that it was hair that came from a diseased person with some larvae and some type of parasites on it. So you just do have to be careful. You do have to be very, to maintain that hair really well, to make sure that there's no such thing cannot happen to you. And then also I think one of the ideas that was raised was the idea that people somewhere in the world are shaving their head off, using this hair into a ritual, and then giving it away as an offering to the gods. And then that hair end up on a black woman somewhere. This idea I didn't come up with this idea. This idea was underlined by a brother in one of the videos. I think it's Brother Panic, if I remember correctly. And this idea that somewhere in the world, women are sending that hair to the gods, and you, black woman, you are wearing that hair. I think it's something that people can dismiss very easily, but I think it's important to look at the symbolism behind that. If you are the goddess that received those hair, what I would like to see in that perspective, so those of you who wear weaves and who think about this concept that you receive an offering from people that come to you and that should end up with to a goddess, that was sent to a goddess, and you receive that. For me, thinking about that states that if you're wearing that hair, you should be in a goddess-like state. That should motivate you to elevate yourself to a goddess-like state. Not to be a diva and snappy and all that, but to be in a position that's going to elevate you and to put you actively in that goddess state where you can help those people who donate their hair to you. And I think that's why it's important to know where your hair comes from. Because without that knowledge, then you may try to escape the responsibility. You may try to escape where this hair is coming from. There's a responsibility that comes with that, with wearing a certain type of hair. I think we can try to keep it on a mundane level where we say, hey, I paid for the hair, it's mine, I do as I wish. Sure. Now we can also try to go even further than that and say, I received this hair that comes from a country where people are giving it away, using in a ritual, giving it away to the gods. And it end up on my head. So I must be godlike for this to end up here. I must have that part of divinity in me that's calling that to me. And for you to explore that part of divinity, for you to express it, for you to expand it, so you're in a position somehow to give back to these people, to answer their prayers. Because if you accept that this hair is for you and that you are a goddess, or you are a goddess, then you need to show it. That needs to be shown. Now you can go and stay in the mundane thing and just think that, it is your hard-earned money and you spend it as you please. You do have that choice. I say we all have the choice, and you can decide that, and you're on your own path. But I think it's a conversation to be had. And I think that when we start thinking about that, we can go beyond and say, the choice that we make have an impact. What is that impact? What is the impact on me? How I view myself, how I see myself, how I value myself, how I celebrate myself. What is the impact on the little girls around me, the little boys around me, the men around me, on how I carry myself, how I speak, how I communicate, how I express myself, how I value who I am, and how I appreciate who I am and my unique characteristics. I think it's a great it's a great discussion to be had. Okay? And so I will say spiritual compatibility will all depend on the individual, based on your own sensitivity. Now there was another, question number 2. Okay, so it was about my video based on a wedding in the Bamileke tradition, and the person asked whether before the wedding, whether there was any form of spiritual assessment to see the compatibility between the two people, the bride and the groom. And I think that's a great question because unlike the Western view, just like astrology, sometimes astrology people will tell you, if you're this sign, you have to be this, it determines your destiny, blah blah blah, it determines kind of your personality. While it's not really the take that's taken when we talk about African spirituality. And so here it's more when we go see an initiate, or we go see a medium, or someone of that nature, we go and ask for the compatibility, to assess the compatibility, not to give us a yes or no they can be together, but more to foresee and forego the things that may be troublesome, the things that they need to watch out for. And I think that's important, that little nuance, that you're not going to get like a perfect marriage. Nobody has a perfect marriage, okay? If you even look around, sometimes even people who are highly spiritual fall apart, grow apart. The point here is to know what are the things that you need to look at for, so that you can deal with them, so that you can prepare yourself to and better deal with them as they come. So that's really important. But it wasn't taken as, we'll drink whatever this person is saying and we'll go for that and that's the destiny. Nonetheless, you have to understand that in that context, usually the parents choose, for if they have a daughter, they choose a boy who's from a family that they know. So they already know the values of the family, they already know the standing of that family in the community, they already have some relationship with that family. So the spiritual assessment actually comes into the compatibility to support what's already there, and to enhance the union of the two families. The union of the two families, you see the difference, not just the union of the two individuals. So even the perspective is different. Even nowadays that they are not, pushing people together, they are, providing options for their children to meet, providing options for them to have some better choices. So spiritual compatibility is important if you want to be aware of certain things, but it is not like winning at the lotto. It's not like, okay, somebody's going to tell you two are going to sit together, and then everything is rosy and you sit together. No, there's always challenges. I haven't met one married couple who have been married for decades and haven't had challenges at all. And I think if people tell you that the marriage is easy, that it's always nice and easy, there's no conflict, there's nothing else, they're probably lying. Because I've seen people who've been married for 30, 40, 50 years, and all of them had at least one story, because I didn't have that much time, it was just but all of them had at least one story of conflict, of things that had to be addressed, or compromised. Because that's part of life, you're not going to be waking up every day smiling, and there's going to be something, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be cheating or anything like that, but it can be just like, day-to-day conflict, a small conflict that are resolved. And I think that's part of life, and it's just like your spiritual journey. There's no tools that are going to prevent you from having challenges, because that's the whole point of being down here. Your spiritual journey is just to better prepare you, so that when you when you see challenges, you can actually take them and face them a lot better, without being scared or without having any additional issues. So that was the second question, and then the last question is to ask what I thought about from a purely spiritual point of view, if it isn't better that both of the bride and the groom be virgins before the wedding, and specifically that at least the woman be a virgin. Okay, so the first thing that I'll answer on this is that this idea of the woman being a virgin, this is not an African idea, this is not an indigenous idea. That fixation on virginity or that fixation on sexuality does not come from that realm. It really comes from the Western part of it, where you had, in the medieval time, you even had women who had to wear chastity belt with a key in it, because there's some form of control around their sexuality. When in Africa you didn't have that. If you look at even indigenous people, they are dressed very light. You can see for sometimes most of them the breasts of the women are out, and they are not having that over-sexualization of women or men. So the whole concept of virginity takes really a different take. The second thing also to notice is that back in the days in the tradition, women will get married or will be previewed after being married 1 to 2 years after starting to have their period. A lot of them will have their late period. It's not like today with the hormones in the food. Women are getting their period at 9 years old, 10 years old, so forth and so on. Okay, maybe in the other part of some words in some documented books, some of them will start at 9 years old to have their period. But usually, even in my particular family, even in my particular tribe, women start having their menstrual period really late. Late comparing to what's done out there in other parts of the Western world. And I'm talking about 14, 15, sometimes even 16 years old. So when you're having your period of 16 years old, it's really very different from a 9-year-old. And then you're having a year or two where you are engaged. Most engagement lasted a year. And so we are really in a different mindset. We are really in background. And so first of all, the wedding were really much younger. So people got married younger. They found that partner much younger. So that will have an impact in the terms of like how long you had to go around and date around and do all this stuff. You didn't have that time. By the time you pass on from the rite of passage to become a woman and having your menses, then you're preparing you to get married. So that's important to point out. And I'm not doing like a brand. I'm not painting everything in general brushes. I know there are tribes where, you know, daughters get married very early. That's been documented. I'm talking about ancient times. I'm talking about tradition. I'm talking about before hormones in food, before people eating kind of thing, before water being polluted with all kind of chemicals, all this different stuff. And I'm talking about the general rules. I'm not talking about the exceptions. There are always exceptions. You always find things that are at odds with the common ground. And I've even spoken about that in the Bamileke tradition, where if you were not in sync or in accord with the cultural norms, they didn't kill you. They just asked you to leave the village so that you can go somewhere and build out the village that you desire with the ideal that you want to live by. And whoever wanted to go with you will go with you. So it's to say that there are very, very variation of things. What I'm talking about is one of the ground, one of the possibility, one of the things that were existing at the time. So you will get married really young. Therefore, you didn't have the time to go see this person, that person, or that person, this. No. When the process gets started, the parents would choose a family that's close. The boy will be close, and normally it was the same. So let's move away from this fixation on women's sexuality and women's virginity, which wasn't the case there, which didn't exist there. That fixation wasn't there. Nobody was checking in and holding women with a leash to see what they were doing. The simple fact that you were able to walk around dressed with close to nothing says a lot about the culture, where the woman was not threatened by being raped or anything like that, anything over-sexualized. A woman walking in her underwear, if you can say, or just hiding her genitals, wasn't seen as something sexual like it is today. So you really have to change your state of mind if you want to go back there and look at the roots. Now the second thing is like it was a good thing or an important thing for both the men and the women to meet each other and to stay together in life. So and one can only think just rationally, why is it important? I mean, if you are part of this generation and living these modern days, you probably had a broken heart at some point, this romantic deception. And for most of us if you were involved in a relationship and you gave your all and it didn't work out, it was probably a big deception for you. And this is probably not something you will wish onto someone else. I think most people will be pleased to meet a partner that is compatible with them, with whom they can build and live the rest of their life together. A lot of people will have that. Those are actually couples' goals. So I'll say for younger girls, I think it's very important. I'm going to make this parenthesis. I'm looking at how much time I have. I want to make this parenthesis because it's very important for young girls to have that goal of finding a partner long-term that will stay with you for long-term, someone who shares the same values, someone who's ready to build, someone who's doing what it takes to have a family and to continue to contribute. Okay, I think there's too many discussions about the no good people, no good men, no good women, the difficulty of society, blah 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 blah. But there's not enough discussions about the people who are doing well, the people who are doing good, the people who want to do better for themselves, the people who want to build families and communities. Those are the people who should get some focus on. Those are the people who should inspire you. Those are the people you should surround yourself with. People who think like you, people who want the same thing. Now, if that's not something that you want, then you go to the left. But in African spirituality, the essence of that, people get married. They didn't get married to go travel the world. They didn't get married because they wanted just to be with somebody. They got married because they understood that the marriage is at the foundation of society, that the marriage will be there to contribute to society, and that the marriage ultimate goal was to bring in the offspring to continue generation and help the ancestors come back. Okay? The couple, a man and a woman, is the only couple that can bring the ancestors back naturally, and the children will know who is the father, who's the mother, which branch I come from, and ideally live with them in harmony together, at least in the same village. And if some incident happened, the mom died or the father died, the community was there to continue to raise that child, because it takes a village to raise the child. It takes uncle, cousins, brother, sister, all of that. And a pride that African had, and which you can find in any form of indigenous society, was the birth and the bringing of children to this world. And I think that is not celebrated enough. So it's important for me to state that here, to state that this idea that freedom is in either being single or is in being with a partner but childless, to be just a couple goals without any children in the future. Everyone has the right to take this kind of decision and to choose their lifestyle. However, when you put that and you place that in perspective with the community and the renewal of the community, then you may be inclined to make the decision, make an informed decision about what you want to do. And of course, also make that informed decision based on your own path. That means if you have no interest, you don't want to have kids, then don't go and have them, of course. But if you're doubting, if you don't know, then you may want to consider that. You may want to take the broader picture. And also to say that it's not because you don't want to have kids that you are now isolated from the community. No, you're still part of the village. I just mentioned it takes a village to raise one child. And I never said your child. It takes a community to raise all of the children that are within the community. So whether you decide to have kids on your own or not, you still have to pinch in to raise the children that are around you, the children that are yours to raise, and that you should contribute to the community. Now, you can also choose to leave the community. That's something else. But when you do leave the community like that and you refuse to put in, don't be surprised if you never get anything back. Because it is a matter of give and take. The previous generation gave to us sacrifice so that we can be here. And on our turn, we'll do the same for the generations to come. That's how it works. You pay it forward because people have done the same before you came. So this idea of virginity, I think this is really a concept that you shouldn't be fixated on. If you're young, I will encourage you to be focused on finding a partner, a life partner, on finding somebody you can build and spend your life with. If you're not in an environment where this person grew up with your family, that you know the characteristics, you know since you're little, you know his personality, you know kind of his default, but above all, you know his values, take your time. Take your time and avoid the trials and tribulations. I think there's so many videos on YouTube, there's so many people who share their experiences so that you don't have to live them. Learn from the experiences of others if you don't want to live those experiences. Expand yourself. Take in what you can learn from those exchanges that will help you evaluate different things. What I want to also underline here is that tradition is never to be used as an excuse. Okay, as an excuse to be in an abusive relationship because some spiritualist told you that you guys were compatible and this person is hurting you violently, all those kind of things. Tradition is never an excuse for that, and that's why I really underline that it is not a destiny. It is forces that are there that may influence you positively or negatively, and that's why they report it on. It is not that you have to stay with this person if this person is abusive. On the contrary, if this person is abusive, you need to seek help and you need to get yourself out so you can be in a safe position, in a safe place. Also, the other dimension of not being a virgin was simply because the couple, usually after the engagement ceremony was done, where the two families came together and there was no accord in terms of the wedding the taking place, and both families agreed, in addition of the two individuals, then it wasn't uncommon that the two of them will be intimate. And for several reasons. Among those reasons was that sometimes you will have people who didn't want them to sit together, maybe other families that wanted this young man to be with their daughters, or vice versa. And so they may come up with all kind of different foolery and all kind of different stories to attack the couple. One of the most common was to say that the man is infertile or that the woman was infertile. And so the fact that they had been intimate, a lot of time the woman was already pregnant before the wedding even took place. And she already knew she was pregnant before the wedding even took place. So when those type of rumor comes on, that circle of close family and friends knew already that those are like fake rumors. That is one reason why people didn't really judge into, they already engaged, and they also had this higher sense of morality and higher sense of honor. when they knew when you came to and you gave your word to marry this person, you were going to do it. And you're going to do it not just for now, you're going to do it for the rest of your life. Marriage wasn't a commitment that you made for the rest of your life. And if you even look today, a lot of Africans who still have this kind of like older values within themselves and within their blood, it's kind of like they would rather mess around, have a relationship, but not commit to marriage, because they have that notion that marriage is for the rest of your life. It's not about a piece of paper that you do. It's about a commitment that is a long-term, a lifelong commitment. And even my friend that I've spoken with, a lot of men, African men, view it that way. They're not going to marry you if they don't feel like they're at the point where they can actually take that step for the rest of their life, because it is an important step to take. And also they're a little bit less likely to go from one marriage to the other as well, because the one failed marriage is already a burden to carry. But at the same time, so I think for the younger folks, if you are in your teens and you're in your 20s, hold on to that goal. Have for that goal of you to find a partner, a lifelong partner. And if you can hold on to find that partner and you guys grow together to build something, that would be very beautiful. And I think you should aim to have that kind of love story. You should aim to have that partnership, to look for that partnership, to look for somebody who's going to be compatible with you, somebody with whom you share the same values. For people who are older, if you've been divorced, if you haven't married yet, if you, no matter what your situation is, people find love and partnership at any age. In your 30s, 40s, 50s, it doesn't matter. The point is like when you're going to find it, when you're going to say, you're going to know it was all worth what you went through. You're going to know it was all worth the trouble, if you like. So don't give up on love. Don't give up on yourself. And just also don't prevent or don't see yourself not having what you deep down know that you deserve, which is a lifelong partner. To be with somebody who's there to build, who's somebody who you're going to accomplish different things, somebody who's going to be able to cherish you and that you're going to be able to cherish as well. Don't let anyone make you believe that you don't deserve or that you're not going to get that. Because the only way you're not going to get it, if you think you don't deserve it and if you think you're not going to get it. So either way you'll be right, so you might as well go for it. And I know I went a little bit all over the place, but I wanted to finish with this one additional thing, is that when people didn't get married, the importance of the structure that was there in place was that the children were usually from the same social classes, they shared the same family values, the family had the opportunity to interact and know each other very, very well, so that when you were going to ask for spiritual guidance on the couple, it wasn't something to get something new, it was just confirmation and for additional information on things to look for to make sure that the couple is going to be long lasting. And I think it makes it a little bit harder when you don't have those components around you, when you don't have family looking out for you that way, or when you don't have other family, friends of the families that share the same values that you grew up with, that your parents knew, or things of that nature. But I think it's a great thing that you can be reestablished. It will naturally requires that each of us pinch in our part and do our part in it. But I think it's fantastic and fabulous to see. When you see couples have been together for that long, you see their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and the stories behind that. I think it's beautiful, it's wonderful. When they talk about, the first time they saw their grandparents, the first time their grandparents saw them, and all the activity around it, I think it captures so well the return of the ancestors and what it means. And the fact that you are never disconnected from your own ancestors, no matter what other people tell you, or no matter what you come to believe sometime. Okay, so I went very, very long. So you can leave in the comments what you thought about the different topics, whether it was natural hair, whether it was the marriage, traditional marriage and virginity, and would you hold on if you had the choice maybe to find your life partner? Would you recommend that your younger sister, your cousins, your daughters try to hold on and held that goal to find somebody to build with, somebody that they love, somebody that will love them? Or would you just leave it all to faith, or maybe leave it all to social norms and the social context where you live? Yeah, let me know in the comments. And if you would like for me to answer some of your questions, you can send them to me to my email with the subject line wisdom letters. If you do want to be a sponsor, the information will be also in the description box. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.